Hey guys, Ranch here, Ro32 commentary. This is going to be the losers match in Group C with round 32 of the Hana Daetoo MSL. I don't know how it's pronounced. The whatever MSL, the Ranch MSL. I will eventually learn how to pronounce that name. Anyway, this is going to be between Fantasy and Mind, our two losers today. But one of these guys is going to have an opportunity to get back into this. We're going to see which one of these guys it is. Fantasy most likely is going to want to prove that he, that he doesn't know exactly what happened. What that first loss was a fluke, and the only reason he did really lose it because for some reason he wasn't putting any turrets up, and wasn't really readying himself for Mutalisks whatsoever. So I don't know what's up with that. But anyway, this is going to be on Triathlon. We're going to have Fantasy at the 12 o'clock position as the yellow terran. We're going to have Mind at the 8 o'clock position. What's that for? 8 o'clock position as the red terran. This is going to be a TVT, and I have a feeling we're going to see a long and grueling one, people. 37, 38, 39. Why do I say it's probably going to be a long and grueling one? The simple reason is that these guys play those kind of TVTs. The biggest reason we got to see a short TVT, a relatively short TVT between C and Mind, is because Mind just dominated that game extremely quickly and managed to get the upper hand extremely quickly on Mind. But these two guys play a slow, relaxed, macro-heavy, dropship Goliath tank chess match that takes an age type of game. You know, it's something that Kasparov would be damn proud of while playing his own little game. So I'm mostly expecting very safe builds. One of these guys might try to go for a quick expo. I'm not quite too sure. This is a fairly safe, especially early on. You're fairly safe. You're going to be able to hold that expansion inside your main fairly safely for a very long time. So it could be some of these guys could go for a quick expo build, could go for just 14cc. We're going to see Fantasy put down a barracks. Mind sent an earlier scout, so he's sending that out across the map to the 5 o'clock position to spot where there's anything going on over there. Fantasy, meanwhile, going to get his refiner going, so he's most likely going to go for most likely going to expand off of one factory and then try to do something. On the opposite side, we do see Mind go for a 14cc inside his own natural. His main would be a little bit safer, but apparently he feels probably going to try to wall that off a little bit, put up a defensive position there. He's just going to have to be careful. If Fantasy would go for a 2-fact build right now, he'd be able to 2-fact push into Mind right now and probably end the game right there, but don't really think that's what he's going to be going for. Might start off with some early vulture harass, which could become effective if Mind doesn't set up his defenses up quick enough. He doesn't get a bunker at his front quick enough. If he does, however, any vulture harass would most likely be negated fairly quickly. Two-city refiner in the barracks at the front now. Refinery in his main barracks at the front for Mind now. And this first person view is staying a little bit longer than I would want it to, but at the same time it's kind of comfortable to see what this guy's going for. I prefer to see this view. Sometimes they show it just at the very beginning when they're just starting to play the game, but I prefer it right here because they're kind of doing their stuff, kind of doing their thing, kind of moving around. Fantasy going to try to force Mind back right now with his original Marine. Mind does have the scout inside, going to try to keep it alive as long as possible. Getting the full-on scout in Fantasy, spotting the one factory, spotting that he is going to be able to get an economic advantage going. So it's going to be up to Fantasy to try to do some economic damage with his initial vultures. There is a SV scout coming in there for Fantasy as well. It's going to be able to get up the ramp. Mind just now getting his initial barracks up. We're going to see how Fantasy reacts to this, whether he decides to plop down a second factory and just go for an all-out push. But I don't really expect him to see that. He knows he can still play, even just if he gets his command center up pretty soon. Tries to go in there with a vulture. Barely managed to keep it a SV scout alive. One hit on that, it would be dead. But yeah, it does put down his command center. And probably going to be seeing initial vulture coming out, try to do a little bit of damage, pick off a couple of SCVs. Mind's going to maybe, yeah, there we go, bunker at the front. That's exactly what you want to do, prevent. A couple of Marines probably going to be enough, probably going to have another one. Factory on the way as well. So we're probably going to be seeing 3 factories against 2 for Mind to start off after a couple of minutes just because of Mind's early economic advantage. He's going to be able to get that 3rd factory out there sooner and we're going to be able to produce more troops on the ground. Probably, as if he gets his second gas up sooner, also going to be able to produce more tanks. Probably going to be able to support three machine shops. Initial vulture out there for Fantasy, but he's not really going to be able to accomplish it. But it is going to attempt to double expand. Is going to double expand inside his own main behind those eggs, and this is very smart by him. Actually, this is a base that's not going to be spotted for a while, but it is going to give him. He's going to try to compete economically by picking up a faster 3rd perhaps than Mine would think. Mine, nice play, but Mine gonna go for a double starport. There's no scout gonna be coming in for fantasy for a while, unless he plops down an academy and gets some control towers going, which I don't see happening. But yep, but really nice build here from Mine. I assume this is gonna be for Wraiths rather than anything else. He would have had more factories out there, most like he was gonna go for double dropship play. But usually, even if you go for double dropship play, they're going to be coming in a little bit late. One of the starports is going to be floated away a little bit. That's interesting. Let's see. Okay, we landed there, so we can put the control tower down. And there is a barracks floating in here for fantasy. A couple Marines are shooting it down, so Mine desperately trying to prevent the escape. We're going to see what the fantasy actually floats it down toward the lower left hand. Not quite sure what there's actually going to do that. The way the barracks is floating off, he's probably not going to be able to spot. We do see an armory coming up out there for fantasy. Also putting down a second factory, so he is at the very least going to have his second factory soon. He's going to have more ground troops quicker than Mine, but still I don't really see fantasy coming off very well out of his very well out of this. I say he is going to have Goliaths out there. Not quite sure whether he's expecting that. He is getting his academy up, so he's going to be able to get the scout eventually, but there are going to be a couple of Wraiths out before that actually happens. A couple of Marines are going to shoot down that Arbor. Meanwhile, we do see Cloak being upgraded. First couple of Wraiths are on the way. I'm going to see how Mine manages to use this, and really liking this because you don't very often. Already has an initial Wraith out, but really like when Terran players go for something a little bit different, decide to change up, and it just really brings life back into the TVT. TVT honestly isn't as boring as sometimes it is. It can get stale and boring sometimes if it goes on for too long, but like the game between Sea Shield and Mine went on for a while, but it was still a very good game. That was because it just was beautiful to watch the maneuvering and how C completely took advantage of every weakness Mine had on that map. Just really pushed him in. I'm going to see his 3 Wraiths coming out. Don't think they've been spotting. I'm not quite sure. There are a couple Goliaths there to meet him, but they're not going to be able to go towards that base there because of those eggs. So Fantasy at the very least is going to be forced to sacrifice entirely. He doesn't have Engineering Bay either, so the Wraiths are just going to be able to have CVs at the very least are going to be able to run to safety through those eggs, and there are a couple Goliaths on the other side, but the Wraiths are going to stay inside, going to deny mining. A couple Marines are still going to go inside and pick apart the eggs inside of Mine's base, meanwhile putting down his own third. So I still think if he gets that up soon enough, because he's denying gas, despite the fact that Fantasy had a third base longer than him, Mine's still going to be able to compete economically for quite a while. Goliath's still going to fire on those eggs. C-checks coming in to help take care of those. Wraiths at the very least going to try to complete some bit of damage. More of this coming in. They're going to try to take down the control tower if nothing else. Of course, with Wraiths, you're really not going to be able to do any other damage. He's going to be able to take the control tower. One SCV coming in here. Scans coming off as well, just to make the cloak Wraiths completely unusable, completely worthless. Still good play here by Mine. Adding in his second and third factories right now. Going to just focus. He has 3 siege tanks out there. Probably hit siege on those. But still just has those 4 Wraiths out there. Was actually a tank target that he could have taken advantage of. But no, he's just going to cloak up. Going to go for this natural race. We're going to try to kill as many SCVs as he can. There is a turret, I believe, they're coming up. That's most likely a turret. Yeah, is a turret coming up. That's going to see if you're going to get picked off. You're going to do anything. But with 3 Wraiths, you can. Still takes you a while to kill SCVs because SCVs do have those 60 health. Does take a while to shoot them down. Even with 4 Wraiths, you can't one-shot them. Still nice micro here by Mine. Does not that really needs to, but still running around, killing a lot of SCVs. One has 3 kills, another has 3 kills, another has 2 kills. Probably 10 kills overall on SCVs, if not more. So good job there by Mine. He's meanwhile taking the opportunity to saturate. Gonna spot. Oh, nice. Gonna spot an SCV. Was going to the 3 o'clock position, thinking of putting an unbase there. 2 o'clock position. I'm sorry, but meanwhile has saturated his own third base and doing a pretty good job economically. Fantasy getting his third machine jump going, adding in missile turret.